Championships.
Yeah, that's definitely something a lot of people want to go to, and apparently we're actually already immediately in game here, so we are going to see the Raichu and the Lapras here, and the Jellicent and Malamar.
Exactly that. So there's going to be a little bit of backwards and forwards here. You've got Malamar, which is known to carry things like superpower, and with that contrary ability is going to be able to boost its attack and defense. So going to be able to make sure that Marco has lots of offensive pressure on his side of the field. As we see a Dynamax coming out on turn one, but it may even be a Gigantamax.
Yeah, so seeing that dive ball definitely indicating that it is going to be that water type, and we are going to see Lapras immediately go for that Gigantamax. So one of the new Gigantamax now in this series, so definitely excited to see what it can actually do here.
Yeah, these players wasting absolutely no time using all of the Pokemon that are allowed, as Raichu goes for the fake out, not wanting that Malamar to attack this turn.
Now, as Jellicent retaliates, goes for a Shadow Ball onto the Raichu here, doing a tiny bit of damage, but in case it has something like Focus Sash, it is now going to be procced, as the beautiful move here is gonna come out from that Lapras, that Gigantamax moves, and it will now, of course, also set that Aurora Veil, so raising the physical and special defenses here on Marco's side.
Exactly. I think that's actually Antoine's side. I think we had a little bit of a switch around there. But as you say, the Aurora Veil coming out from that G-Max Resonance coming out from Lapras, really going to be a strong turn there for Marco, getting it started as he wants to go on. But we're going to see Raichu just go for a Volt Switch.
Yeah, doesn't want to really stay in here. Maybe wants to recycle his fake out later. So it is now going to be leaving the field and kind of saying that, okay, what does he really want to switch in depending on what he has brought in the back. And he decided the best option here is to bring out that Corviknight. Well, Topsy Turvy actually comes out from Malamar, is going to fail, but a Shadow Ball is now going to come out from Jellicent onto that Corviknight, who takes that very, very comfortably. Lapras here going for a big Max Geyser here into the Malamar is enough to pick up the knockout there, but it will also set the rain, meaning that another Max Geyser is going to be doing more damage next turn.
And this is really great coming out from the Lapras, where, the first turn you set up that G-Max Resonance, get that Aurora Veil on the screen, make sure that Lapras can last the test of time in this battle, but also then powering up its moves. Lapras not known for using many of its Dynamax moves that are able to boost stats, so instead it's setting up a weather condition, making sure that it's got that stopping power on the field, but Heliolisk coming in from Antoine is going to stop that. Heliolisk does carry that dry skin ability, so potentially going to heal itself every time from the rain, but also absolutely absorb all of those powerful Max Geysers that Marco's set up, and as well, Jellicent known for carrying water absorbers ability as an ability, so going to be able to completely neutralize all of those big, powerful water attacks that Marco's been setting up with that Max Geyser.
Yeah, so Corviknight not feeling in a perfect position here. We are going to see that Raichu now switch back in, is going to be pressuring any fake outs again to the next turn, and this time Antoine decides to go for his Dynamax here.
Exactly, and we'll see what it is coming out. Probably that Heliolisk, and there we go. So threatening some maybe big electric attacks coming out on the field. Is going to have to worry about potentially a weakness policy on the Lapras. That's been quite common for a lot of players to opt for with the staying power of things like Lapras.
Yeah, so Heliolisk here itself going for a Max Geyser into the Raichu. Not enough to pick up the KO, even with that combination of that Life Orb and a Water Spout here coming out from Jellicent. Not enough to pick up the KO, as Lapras here goes for another G-Max Resonance here into that Heliolisk, doing just a tiny bit of damage, and we are going to see that dry skin proc from that Heliolisk is going to be healing a little bit of damage, as the Lapras here on Marco's side is now out of its Dynamax turns.
Exactly, and we saw the how important that Aurora Veil is coming out from Marco's side of the field. That Raichu switching in, maybe an indication that it's carrying something like an Assault Vest, being able to take a Max Geyser in the rain from Heliolisk, followed by a Water Spout. So something that Antoine is going to have to be really really conscious of.
Yeah, so Raichu going for that nozzle will of course do a little bit of damage, but more importantly is going to paralyze that Jellicent, as a max strike is actually gonna come out from this Heliolisk onto the Lapras, but we can really see that Aurora of Hail pay off together with those really big bulk that Lapras does carry. It will lower the speed, so meaning that maybe some speed things next turn are going to switch up, meaning that maybe some Mont here on Antoine's side are going to be faster. Jellicent not able to lift his attack and is sadly going to be fainted here.
Exactly, so we saw Max Strike lowering the speed of Marco's side of the field, but actually it didn't matter because Nuzzle came out first, made sure that Jellicent wasn't able to attack before Lapras brought out its Freeze Dry, and that's a really great Ice-type move that's super effective against Water-type Pokemon that would normally resist that attack. So really good on Marco's side of the field, and he's definitely keeping the front foot all the way through the battle, really utilizing that Aurora Veil greatly and just making sure that Antoine is just not going to be able to do too much.
Yeah, another Max Strike here coming out from the Antoine's Heliolisk is not enough to pick up the KO on this Lapras. Will of course lower the speed again, meaning that probably Antoine's Lapras is going to be faster as Raichu goes for a Volt Switch into the Lapras, doing a lot of damage with that super effective, but we are going to see that weakness policy proc, meaning it is going to be raising the attack and the special attack, so this Lapras can now become really scary for Marco.
Exactly, and when you look at the how much damage has been put on to Marco's side of the field, this is going to be really scary for Marco to have to deal with. That Lapras and Heliolisk may be the last things on the field, but Heliolisk is known for its speed, and Lapras is known for its ability to stay on the field and do lots of damage.
Yeah, so we are going to see the Surf come out here from that Heliolisk, something that we really don't see that much, as it will again also heal itself with that Dry Skin ability. As also Corviknight is going to be healing a little bit of health back with those leftovers coming out.
Exactly that. So you've got the Lapras here and the Heliolisk on Antoine's side of the field looking pretty healthy. Now the Pokemon advantage is going slowly away from Marco here as Excadrill comes in, and not somewhere that Excadrill really likes to be. Facing down these Pokemon that both have big water-type attacks that are super effective, boosted by the rain that's still on the field, only one more turn left of that. It looks like the tables are turning now. Corviknight certainly not going to like being in front of the Heliolisk.
No, so Heliolisk going for a Thunder into that Corviknight is going to be enough to pick up the KO. So definitely the momentum here is going to be swinging a little bit. He's now, both of these players are down with 2 Pokemon as high horsepower comes out from Excadrill, super effective on that Heliolisk, enough to immediately pick up the knockout there. A Sparkling Aura is going to come out from Lapras onto this Excadrill, who is going to be surviving because of that Focus Sash here. Definitely really important for Excadrill here.
Exactly, and if that Excadrill wasn't carrying the Focus Sash, it would be down to just Raichu versus Lapras, and we saw how much damage that Lapras took from a Volt Switch from that Raichu earlier in the game. With only 10 HP, really unlikely that Lapras was going to be able to be knocked out by that Raichu, maybe with a critical hit or something like that. Still a hope for Marco, but Raichu comes in, content to just fake out the Lapras and get a big Iron Head back on it, doing lots of damage.
Yeah, definitely here the safe play here. He does have that opportunity to go for fake out, make sure that Lapras is down to enough HP where he's very sure he can either pick a knockout with either one of the Pokemon. So Raichu going for that Volt Switch is enough to pick up the KO on this Lapras here. So Marco winning this game 1.
Yeah, but a lot closer than it looks. I mean, you look at how much HP was left on Marco's side of the field, and certainly Antoine did make a lot of really good plays. Definitely took the back foot towards the front end of the game and made and really had a bit of an uphill battle to climb back to where he did, but played it phenomenally to get back to where he did. And really, it's only the Focus Sash on Marco's side of the field that really was the reason that Marco was able to pick up the win here, get the first game of the tournament out of the way. He's got to be feeling good after that, but there's a lot of games left to play today.
So this Lapras here on Marco's side did immediately go for that G-Max move, meaning that it immediately got up that Aurora Veil, which seemed to be kind of a trouble for Antoine. How do you think he can kind of count for that now going into game 2?
Well, I think he's got to be able to pressure that Lapras early doors instead of what happened in the last game where Malamar was taken out so quickly. Maybe it would be a good idea for Antoine to get some of that speed control from the Heliolisk coming out, maybe get some max strikes earlier in the game, follow up with that Malamar with those big superpowers, start boosting itself up. Maybe even if he's able to get an Aurora Veil of his own early in the game, maybe they can both wait out each other's Aurora Veil, get to the point where both of them can start really doing the damage again, and see if Antoine can just punch his way through Marco's team a little bit later in the game, rather than take such a detriment early in the game and then have to claw his way back.
Yeah, so definitely maybe, going to have more an offensive lead with that Heliolisk and maybe bring that Malamar in the back later on.
Yeah, exactly. So, there are some other Pokemon on Antoine's side of the field. We have Whimsicott, we have Incineroar as well as options for him to bring, but I'm not sure that they're going to do too much really make too much impact in the game. Sorry, we're just seeing from the desk here, we've got a couple of little technical issues. The guys are just behind the scenes getting everything sorted. We get you into your game 2 as soon as we can. But in the meantime, actually, it'll be a good idea for us to maybe go through that team preview that we weren't able to showcase right at the start of the game. Let's get you familiar with these players' teams.
Yeah, so Marco does here have that Arcanine, a Raichu, a Corviknight, an Excadrill, a Lapras, and a Togekiss. And on Antway's side, we also have that Lapras, the Whimsicott, Malamar, Jellicent, the Incineroar, and that Heliolisk.
Exactly. So we saw from Marco in this side of the field having the Raichu coming out quite early. I do think it's likely that he's carrying that Assault Vest item, and I think that's a really important thing for Marco's side of the Marco's team with the way he was playing it. We saw Nuzzle coming out, which was a great way to make sure that Jellicent in the last game wasn't able to launch its big attacks. Nothing you want to see really when you're up against a Jellicent and it's in rain and it starts to hit the water spout button at high HP. That's not a place that you want to be. So that was a really good thing that Marco was able to use to his advantage, but also when it switched in that game 1, it really didn't take any damage at all.
Yeah, so one of the things kind of looking at Antoine's team here, he has a lot of things like that Heliolisk, Lapras, the Jellicent, that, he can really benefit from the fact that Marco did set up that rain actually in game 1. Do you think maybe he doesn't really want to immediately go for that? Maybe just try and get up that Aurora Veil with the Gigantamax and then, not go for those Max Geysers, but, maybe just keep going for those freeze dries or anything like that, just to kind of not give that opportunity to Antoine?
Well, I think this is the thing. When you look at your opponent's team, they have a water type in Lapras, usually carries shell armor rather than water absorb in this format. But also you have a resistance there. You have Whimsicott, which is a resistance, but you also have Jellicent and Heliolisk, which we saw that were immune to water type attacks, even healing back some damage along the way. So I do agree. Max Guys are probably not the way to go for Marco. Maybe he's going to reassess that. We don't know if he's got some other coverage moves available on Lapras as well. Maybe some other moves could be coming out too.
Yeah, Antoine here switching it up is going to be leading that Heliolisk like we were just talking about. This time next to that Whimsicott and the Raichu and Lapras lead is going to come out again for Marco. Yeah,
I really like this, trying to pressure the Lapras from Antoine. Unfortunately, Raichu is known for carrying the Lightning Rod ability, so going to be able to redirect things like Max Lightning away from the Heliolisk, but we're wasting no time in this game 2, going for a Dynamax straight away, turn 1, and it's that Heliolisk.
Yes, again, Antoine deciding that that's the best Pokemon here for him to Dynamax, start doing a lot of damage with all of the moves that are gonna come out from that Heliolisk.
Exactly, so we see another Dynamax straight away, likely to be that Lapras. Not a lot of reason to Dynamax your Raichu, especially if it's using those Volt Switch moves, maybe coming in and out, pressuring your opponent with Fake Out. So it is that Lapras that we see going for its Gigantamax form, likely to see a big old G-Max Resonance come out this turn.
Yeah, so if you're going to see that, it's again going to be quite difficult for Antoine to kind of get to that really defensive team, but Whimsicott here opting to just go for a protect, doesn't want the fake out to possibly proc the focus sash that it tends to really carry, and the Heliolisk goes for a max strike again into this Raichu, doing a lot of damage immediately on turn 1, as it will again also lower that speed on both the Lapras and the Heliolisk, as a G-Max Resonance is gonna come out again from that Lapras, is going to be doing still damage to that Whimsicott, because it is a G-Max form. It will go through the protect, meaning that now the focus sash on the Whimsicott is still broken while the Aurora Veil goes up.
Yeah, but really clever play here from Antoine, deciding to go for that protect from the Whimsicott. If it is carrying that focus sash, Fake Out would have broken it, then G-Max Resonance would have finished the job. Made sure that Antoine didn't get any value out of that Whimsicott, so going for the protect was a really clever play there. Whimsicott's known for having a lot of different options for support, sometimes Fake Tears, sometimes Tailwind, making sure that you're either doing as much damage as possible or maybe just making sure you're going first.
Yeah, so Raichu here switching out. Instead we are going to see that Corviknight switch in, and just like you were talking about Fake Tears, it is going to come out from that Whimsicott, is going to lower the special defense of Lapras by 2 stages, as the Max Strike comes out into the Corviknight, maybe trying to get a cheeky KO on that Raichu here, but it's not going to be possible, and with that Mirror Arm it's now going to actually lower the speed on the side here of Heliolisk.
Exactly, as G-Max Resonance comes out from Lapras, so another big attack into the Whimsicott here.
Yeah, and it is this time going to be taking out that Whimsicott, so no more Fake Tears coming out from that Whimsicott.
No, exactly, but the damage may have been done here. This Fake Tears is going to be really crucial going into the later turns of the game. It's likely that Antoine is trying to maybe wear down the Aurora Veil that's come out from that G-Max Resonance, make sure that he's in the driving seat later in the game, can hit with those big special attacks. Maybe if Antoine is able to remove Raichu from Marco's side of the field, that Lapras will be absolutely free to be targeted by those big electric type attacks coming out from Heliolisk. Incineroar though entering the field, so we may see some water moves coming out. That Max Geyser coming from Lapras on Marco's side of the field, but he does have to worry about that dry skin on Heliolisk.
Yeah, so this time actually he's going to switch out his Lapras, not utilizing his last Dynamax turn, as Raichu is going to be switching in a Max Strike from Heliolisk, goes into that Raichu, is this time enough to pick up the knockout, meaning that there's no more Lightning Rod shenanigans here going on, and Heliolisk might now really be free to start going for those Thunders like we saw in Game 1, but this time with no rain, it also does have a chance to miss, but this time actually we see the
Brick Break coming out from Incineroar there.
From Incineroar is going to be breaking that Aurora Veil. Definitely really important, as Iron Defense here comes out from that Corviknight. Is going to be raising its defenses.
Exactly, and we see the sort of plays that Marco's going for here. Corviknight is known to be quite a bulky Pokemon, and we've seen how good Mirror Armor is. Even though Max Strike went into the Lapras slot, Mirror Armor was able to reflect the speed reduction back onto Heliolisk. That Heliolisk is now at 2- speed, and certainly with Excadrill coming out on the field, definitely not a place that either Heliolisk or Incineroar want to be. So that Corviknight in the meantime going to be boosting its defense by 2 stages, may also have Body Press as an option here, and we know that Body Press is calculated based on the defense of your Pokemon, not your attack, and so you know, Corviknight's able to boost its longevity, make sure that it stays on the field, but also going to be able to do a lot of damage going forward if it does have that Body Press.
Yeah, Excadrill going for that high horsepower into the Heliolisk is going to be more than enough to pick up a clean knockout here with that super effective move. As Parting Shot is gonna come out from Incineroar, a new move that it actually learned here on Sword and Shield, as it will now be switching out, giving him an opportunity to switch whatever he has as his last mon back in.
Exactly, and that's going to be so crucial for making sure that Excadrill stays, let's say, under control. Iron Defense coming out here from the Corviknight and making sure that it's got as much defense as it can, and certainly going to make a lot of difference against that Incineroar. When it comes back in, that ability is going to activate that Intimidate, going to be reflected straight back to the Incineroar, so a +4 defense boost from Corviknight and a -1 attack boost from Incineroar. Those Flare Blitz that you think are going to do lots and lots of damage to Corviknight, not going to do much damage anymore.
No, definitely also now with that -1 again because of that mirror armor, definitely here Antoine kind of a tough position because he really doesn't have any way to threaten a lot of damage here.
No, but we did see Topsy-Turvy in Game 1 coming out from that Malamar, so as Lapras switches in, maybe that's what Antoine is going for.
Yeah, Incineroar going for a fake out, not really mattering since the Lapras just switch in, but just as like you were saying, the Topsy-Turvy is gonna come out from that Malamar as Corviknight does reveal that it does have that body press ability, now just doing a tiny bit of damage instead of doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, and it's great to see that Malamar being used to such good effect there. We see the power of Topsy-Turvy in a format where most Pokemon like to boost their stats. Now Malamar comes in and says, hey, you've got the boosts, now you've got a drop. That's really powerful in a format like this, and really good to see from Antoine. Now that Corviknight's at -4 defense. Those Flare Blitz that weren't going to be doing that much damage originally are going to be doing a lot of damage. Marco sees that and switches out his Corviknight.
Yeah, doesn't want to take any of attacks with that -4 defense. Excadrill now has the opportunity to switch back in as a parting shot
lovely.
on his own Malamar here. With that Contrary is going to be boosting his own stats as the superpower does a lot of damage here. We see the Excadrill again hanging on because of that focus sash, proving to be a really, really helpful item here, as Lapras actually goes for Parasong, meaning that every mon that is now on the field and doesn't switch is going to be fainting in 3 turns.
Exactly. And Marco's just put a timer on the game. We were talking about other coverage options that may be available on the Lapras. Turns out Marco doesn't want coverage. He wants an assured win when he gets his opponent down to 2 Pokemon. Excadrill going for a Protect. Likely that we're going to see that from Lapras as well, trying to wait out this Perish Song.
Yeah, so both Pokemon here on the side of Marco are going to be protected, so any attacks here coming out of UGC are just going to be doing no damage as the Perish count is going to be falling to 2. Marco does have 1 Pokemon left in the back, so he does have an opportunity to switch something out now, switch at Corviknight back in, making sure that his Pokemon don't faint at the end of the turn.
Exactly, and this is the thing about Perish Song. When you get to this position, it's so good to be able to double protect, as Marco did, switch out your Pokemon. Doesn't matter if they both get knocked out because your Pokemon is left in the back with a protect. So you both reset that Perish counter, then allow yourself to protect again, and that's so vital. And it's likely that there isn't really a way for Antoine to get back into the match here.
No, so we did see Excadrill go for a high horsepower into the Incineroar. Was enough to pick up the KO, as we are now going to see those Perish Song count down to the last turn.
Exactly, and Lapras is still in the back, so even if Malamar was able to pick up 2 knockouts, he can't pick up 3 knockouts in this turn, and this Perish counter is going to go down to 0. Antoine deciding that he doesn't want to wait for that to happen, just forfeiting the game, knows exactly the situation, and congratulations to Marco Silva. He is your winner of round 1.
Yeah, so definitely an interesting pick on that Lapras here, bringing that Perish Song. So it turned out to be really, really important here, because he could really just say like, okay, my opponent has only 2 Pokemon left. I have 3 Pokemon left. I'm now in a position to go for that Perish Song and just use that as my definite win con.
Exactly, and when you start off the game with a Lapras and you use that Geomax Resonance, bring out that Aurora Veil, you also give yourself the opportunity to just be more aggressive in the way that you play. You know, you're not at so much risk that your Pokemon are going to take a knockout and you're going to go down in Pokemon. So you set up that Geomax Resonance, get that Aurora Veil on the field, really attack and actually make sure you get those KOs. Lapras goes back into its normal form, gets access to Perish Song again when you're at maybe 3 or 4 Pokemon to 2, you can use that Perish Song and just close out a game. So a really fantastic way of building your team, and absolute props to Marco. But Antoine played fantastically as well.
Yeah, so Antoine, of course, now being that one game down, he really didn't have any way to come back when he actually saw that Perish Song coming out. Definitely a good idea from Marco to not reveal that in game 1, because if he knew if he could just get Antoine back to Pokemon with him 3, he had a sure win for that round 1. So definitely something to always take account, like, do I really need to reveal a move in game 1 if I might really need it to win? A little bit cheekily here in game 2 or 3 where you really feel like, okay, I really can't reveal it yet.
Exactly that. And, sometimes the Perish Song is the right way. And, in a tournament, you are playing to win. You have to balance the information that you reveal with the need to win. If you've got another way to win without revealing information, that's the way to go. And that's exactly what Marco did. We're going to go to a short break now, but we are going to be back in just a few moments with your winner from round 1, Marco Silva. Hello everyone, welcome back. We are here with your winner from round 1, Marco Silva. Congratulations on your win, absolutely commanding performance. But speaking of winning, you've just come from the Oceania International Championships, winning that event. What were your key highlights from the tournament?
For sure, the key highlight of the whole tournament was playing so many rounds and come out with the first seed.
Yeah.
So I basically was pretty advantage during the whole Top Cut.
Yeah. So just keeping on top of the records and just keeping on winning through the tournament and eventually taking that title.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And coming into this event, we are at the regional level rather than the international level. Are you still going for that win? Are you still really fighting for it, or are you just using this to keep up with the game now?
Yeah, I really want to win because I won last year too in Sweden, so I want to keep my title.
Brilliant. So the defending champion getting off to an absolutely phenomenal start in this tournament. Speaking of phenomenal starts, that Lapras, which is new in Series 3, was absolutely making waves in this game and using that G-Max resonance to great effect. Tell us a little bit more about why you chose Lapras for the Gigantamax form in this tournament.
I decided to go with Lapras because obviously it's pretty good to set up the Aurora Veil thanks to its G-Max attack. And it's pretty solid, so you can remain on the field for so many turns, and it's pretty difficult to defeat.
Yeah, and making sure that can stay on the field is so important. You definitely don't want your Pokemon to be knocked out for all the players at home. That is absolutely the name of the game. But backing that up, you had Raichu on the field as well, and a couple of other Pokemon that really looked like they were there to support the Lapras and make sure it did exactly what it was doing. Is that what you were going for? Were you trying to just make sure that Lapras was doing as much as it could?
Some part of my game plan was to set up the game for winning with just Corviknight in the back. So I could just kill the threat of they were threatening Corviknight, and making sure that I was winning with Corviknight.
Yeah, so not just the Lapras that you're trying to protect, some other Pokemon as well. Brilliant insight there. Just a quick one going for all of the players at home that may be new to the event and new to playing at this level. Have you got any advice for the players at home about how to maybe build teams to this sort of level?
Probably the best thing is go to a local event with a team that it's pretty simple, and from there try to update that team to the metagame and to what other players are using.
Yeah, that's great advice. So keep it simple at the start and then maybe build on that going through the seasons of more and more tournaments that you go to. Well, that's great. Thank you very much, Marco. Brilliant to see you round 1, and I hope you continue to do absolutely fantastically for the rest of the event. Looking forward to seeing you maybe day 2 tomorrow if you're carry on in the way you are and get through those all-important Swiss rounds. We're going to go for another break now, but we'll be back very soon with your round 2.